Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a massive wave of 2026 regulatory changes that are literally upending how pilots and dispatchers are trained, certified, and managed. We're moving away from this old era of periodic check-ins and stepping into a world of continuous, real-time, data-driven oversight. So if you're involved in aviation operations, pay attention, because this is the exact moment the ground is shifting beneath your feet.
Before we get into the real nitty-gritty details, look at this quote from LMSpedia. It perfectly sets the stakes for us. This isn't just a minor update to a handbook somewhere. If your safety management still lives in a dusty physical binder, or your training data is scattered across, 3 different spreadsheets, 2026 is the year that setup stops being just a headache and actually becomes a massive, costly compliance failure.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The 2026 regulatory reset. 2. Modernizing pilot training. 3. Prioritizing mental health. 4. Remote dispatching bans. 5. Upgrading dispatcher tech. And finally, 6. Your 2026 action plan.
All right, Section 1, the 2026 regulatory reset. Let's look at this big overarching shift.
So the biggest global catalyst here is the ICAO's Annex 19 Amendment 2, hitting in November 2026. Basically, this takes safety management systems, or SMS, and formally extends them to new areas like maintenance organizations and drone operators. But here's the absolute crucial part for our focus on pilots and dispatchers today. It explicitly demands that training, compliance, and safety management be co-managed. You literally can't treat training as an isolated event anymore. Your training analytics must generate actionable safety intelligence. Regulators are officially closing the gap between having a nice SMS manual on a shelf and actually proving you have a data-driven safety culture day in and day out.
Moving on to Section 2, modernizing pilot training. Let's see how flight school monitoring is getting a total overhaul.
Notice the stark contrast here between where we've been and where we're going. Regulators globally, including the FAA and EASA, are shifting from a traditional hours and tasks system to CBTA, or competency-based training and assessment. Under the old model, you logged flight hours, checked off task boxes, and basically just looked at pass/fail rates. But the new baseline? It requires grading observable behaviors, specifically knowledge, skill, and attitude, or KSA. It's no longer enough to just know if a pilot passed a test. Regulators want the underlying data proving that a core competency was genuinely demonstrated and that instructor grading is completely standardized.
To actually make this leap, operators are having to completely rethink their infrastructure. Take Romanian airline FlyYo, for example. They rolled out a fully electronic training management system to oversee crew qualification and competency evaluations. By going totally digital and aligning with CBTA principles, they can now monitor events in real time across their entire instructor community, completely regardless of time zones. Operations like FlyYo prove that capturing this kind of observable behavioral data is only possible when your architecture is built from the ground up for competency tracking, not just old-school record storage.
Section 3. Prioritizing mental health. Beyond technical skills, 2026 brings a massive, long overdue focus to the human element.
Now, this is where things get really complicated. Look at this patchwork of green, yellow, and red data across these international aviation authorities. Approvals for SSRI medications, which, as you probably know, are super common for treating depression and anxiety, vary wildly. A medication totally allowed by the FAA might be strictly prohibited by the UK CAA, or may be handled on a case-by-case basis by EASA. You can imagine how this lack of standardization makes seeking treatment incredibly stressful for pilots navigating global airspace.
To tackle the stigmas that keep pilots from seeking help in the first place, the Mental Health Aviation Rulemaking Committee recently put out some vital recommendations. A real cornerstone of their report is a push to integrate mental health awareness right into the airman certification standards and recurrent training events. The goal is simple: mental health literacy. By making mental wellness a standard part of all training phases, even flight reviews and instructor refresher courses, the industry can finally start normalizing these conversations.
And lawmakers are actually backing this up. The Mental Health and Aviation Act sets aside $15 million a year from 2026 through 2028. That's a significant chunk of change specifically aimed at hiring and training more aviation medical examiners. By funding aviation-savvy mental health providers, Congress is helping build these vital safe haven pathways. The whole idea is to give pilots accessible, non-prejudicial avenues to self-disclose mental health struggles, get treatment, and return to operations safely without the terrifying fear of instantly losing their livelihood.
All right, Section 4, Remote Dispatching Bans. Shifting gears to the ground, let's explore the strict new limits on dispatchers under the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024.
So, the actual legal definition of where operational control happens is getting locked down tight. For domestic flag and supplemental operators, federal rules now dictate that dispatching and flight following literally have to happen within designated approved physical facilities. These centers are heavily scrutinized. We're talking staffing, equipment, security, all to make sure dispatchers can manage weather and airspace without a single interruption. Working outside of these physical hubs is now explicitly prohibited by law. It's all about ensuring that a dispatcher's rigorous training is executed in an environment built for unhindered communication.
Which naturally brings up the question, considering the flexibility a lot of dispatchers had during the COVID-19 pandemic, where remote work was temporarily okayed, you've got to wonder, is there any leeway left in the system today?
The short answer, it is strictly a last resort. Remote dispatching is now only allowed in an emergency that renders the primary facility totally inoperable. And if that nightmare scenario does happen, the regulatory burden is incredibly heavy. Operators have to notify their flight standards office within 24 hours, and they can only use that backup remote site for a maximum of 14 consecutive days. If you need more time, you actually have to get special approval from the FAA administrator.
Section 5, Upgrading Dispatcher Tech. Because they're centralized back in these approved centers, operators are leaning hard into technology to keep up.
The reality is, manual processes just can't keep pace with modern routing complexities anymore. Operators are turning to advanced cloud-native platforms like Jeppesen Dispatch to utilize event-based automation and automated airport suitability checks. As Emre Guni from Corendon Airlines highlights here, using this kind of computational power to continuously optimize tens of thousands of flight plans drastically slashes manual planning time. It's basically shifting the dispatcher's role from manual data entry to what we call management by exception. That means their training can focus entirely on high-level, complex decision-making rather than just crunching numbers.
Finally, Section 6, your 2026 Action Plan. Let's talk about how to actually get your team compliant before these November deadlines hit.
Experts are basically saying, don't panic, but do this in phases. For Phase 1, over the next 30 days, do a records audit. Map what you currently track against those new CBTA observable behavior requirements we talked about. Next up, at the 60-day mark, is a system capability assessment. Actually run a mock audit to see if your IT infrastructure can produce the records regulators are going to demand. And Phase 3, at 90 days, is your integration review. You absolutely must ensure your safety reporting and your training data aren't living in separate silos anymore.
And this, right here, this integration, is the whole point of the 2026 reset. When your safety management system operates as a truly integrated approach, it completely transforms how you train. Imagine this. If your system is working correctly, a cluster of operational errors, like say, an uptick in go-arounds flagged by your dispatchers, will automatically trigger a targeted training intervention for your pilots. It's beautiful, really. It moves the whole organization from reacting to incidents after the fact to proactively managing risks before they ever happen.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. I want you to ask yourself this. If an FAA or EASA inspector walked right into your facility today and asked for a complete competency-based compliance history for a specific pilot or dispatcher, could your current system hand over that report in under 10 minutes? If your answer involves frantically pulling data from 3 different platforms and digging through a literal filing cabinet, well, the clock is ticking on the most significant regulatory shift in a generation. So what's your first step going to be? Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.